So, hello everybody. I am super excited to be chatting with you again. And tonight I have a wonderful tool to show you which can really be of benefit to you and to your students. We're going to be talking about internet safety and the real impact that that can have on the children that we love and care for. I really want you to think about how you engage and teach your own children about internet safety. And if you're a teacher, how you actually are teaching your children about internet safety. If your children are on the internet in any shape or form, we should be teaching them about how to be safe online. There are over 5.5 billion internet users globally, so about 68% of the world's population. That's an incredible amount of people who are online. From a South African point of view, these stats are from early 2023, so it's probably even more now. And we know that our population is more now than 60.1 million. But they were then saying that there were already 43.5 million users within South Africa and 25.8 million social media users. So nearly 43% of our total population. And then in 2023, we already had mobile connections of 112 million users. So nearly more than double our population. So the children do have access. The studies from UNICEF show that approximately 175,000 children go online for the first time every single day. So more than a child a second is going online for the first time. In a study done by UNICEF called Disrupting Harm, it was a study that looked at South African children. They interviewed a large number of children, so more than 2,600 children and more than 1,300 parents. And they spoke to them about online behavior, wellness, and well-being. The study was taken across the 9 provinces, and they worked within 176 cities and towns. So it was a really great sample. One of the things they found out was that 95% of the children who took part in the survey had access to the internet via a mobile device. 58% of those children, so aged between 9 and 17, had access to the internet every day. And there was no difference if we looked at gender or children from urban or rural areas. This was across the board. That 97% used smartphones to access the internet, and 53% of those children had seen sexual images online, and 67% were exposed to those through online devices. Then if we look at another study done by DQ Institute and UNICEF, they spoke about how digital technology can make children more susceptible to harm online and even offline, where they found that 47% of the children that they had surveyed had been bullied and were seen as victims. And these were children between the ages of 8 and 12. 56% had exposure to cyber risks every single day, and 10% had met an online stranger in real life. If we go back to the Disrupting Harm study, they said that 70% of the children were on the internet without their parental consent. And 25% had confirmed that they had added people who they'd never met face to face to their friend or contact lists. And 18% had sent photos or videos of themselves to people that they'd also never met. And 67% of the children participants had seen sexual images that exposed them with being online. If we then look at a UNICEF study, which was on children watching pornography or being exposed to pornography, in their study, they found that 55% of the children here in South Africa revealed that they watched porn regularly. And 35% of the children on their survey said that they watched child pornography as well. 30% had watched violent pornography, and nearly 65% had watched pornography between men and women. And they didn't actually care that child pornography was illegal. We really do need to make our children aware. If you've never heard of the Film and Publications Act, go and have a look at the Film and Publication Board website. It has really interesting and effective information. But what this act talks about is it prohibits and criminalizes the creation, production, and distribution of child sexual abuse and exploitation material. So we need to make our children really aware of what they're taking photos of and how they are engaging. But at the same time, this is a great platform where you want to report something. You can hop onto their website and look for this little orange box that talks about reporting child pornography. On the other side of this, there are studies that are showing through UNICEF as well that 40% of the internet users are using the internet for information about health and to help them with their schoolwork. And 24% are using it to learn new skills. And so we need to be aware as parents and teachers how we actually engaging with our children. But 84% of the people who took part in a Google study in 2019 said that teachers said that there should be more online safety taught within schools, and that 93% of the teachers found it would be really helpful if they had some form of training, and that 66% of the parents were concerned about online safety risks. So really think about, is your child safe online? Have you gone through the settings and checked it with your child? So today we're going to go into this amazing study and learn more about social kids. We're really looking forward to having this chat. So, hello, Cheryl. I'm really excited to be engaging with you this evening.
Hi, Karen, and thank you so much for having the Social Kids team talking with you. And yes, that is exactly why we are here, because those stats are true and they're alarming.
So, where do you want to begin?
Well, let's begin where Social Kids began. So Social Kids was actually developed by my husband and myself for our own son. And as we were going through it, I just thought this is something that we need to teach everyone. The stats and facts were alarming, very similar to what you've taken us through. The point being is technology is not going anywhere. We can't stop our children from accessing the internet. There's that fear that they might fall behind, or, mommy needs a break and there's nothing wrong with watching an age-appropriate show. That's all well and fine. But we need to bear in mind that when we hand over that phone, we're actually handing over to the World Wide Web. And that's one of the reasons we created Social Kids and have tried our best to try and get the word out there. So thank you, Karen, for giving us the opportunity.
We're excited to learn more.
If we think about it, what is the first thing that a child sees when they are born? It's a phone. And that phone is in mommy and daddy's hands as they grow up. And it's handed to them to watch TV, educate them, keep them busy. Then between the ages of 6 and 10, they've actually got full reign to that phone. And then all of a sudden, when our children grow up to be 12, we go, oh, wait, we need to protect them. Oh, no. So it's like giving somebody a big cake and then actually, no, wait, you can only have a slice. So our Social Kids program is focused on that foundation phase when they're first starting to engage with the online world. So we've created a little character called Codey Crawler, and he takes our children through how to be safe online. So
brilliant. I think lots of programs start much later. And so focusing on the little children just becomes so important. So I think that in itself really makes your product really great.
Well, we also thought about it, and let's teach them while they still think we're cool. Well, they'll still listen, right? And they're little sponges. So, we've got a little saying that says, think before you click. And quite frankly, if that's all our children remember, our job is done, because it'll help them stop to think.
Exactly.
So everyone's like, oh, it's fine. I'm watching. There's no risks. I'm here. There are risks of doing nothing. Our children are slowly but surely losing the ability to have face-to-face social skills and developing empathy. If you believe it or not, they have even shorter attention spans than ever before. Then it's the obvious health and wellness, such as obesity and poor posture. What we don't think about is perceptions. Between those ages of 6 to 11, they're starting to grow their little personalities. And this is where misinformation can change a child's perception as they grow up. Talking about your pornography stats. I mean, that is just shocking that is what they now think, that violence is part of showing love. We also expose them to master manipulators. And these guys have been doing this for a lot longer than the children have been. Children can unintentionally share sensitive information. And of course, too much screen time affects their sleep, their physical and mental development. What we are finding as well is the understanding of nonverbal communication, picking up body language and how children engage with each other. That little gut feeling of, I actually don't like that person. I think I'm going to stay away. You can't pick that up on a screen. Yeah. So, and then we look at what is seen cannot be unseen. And that is a true fact. Now, we're not saying the children must never go online. Obviously, like you said, there's lots of good to go with it. But we need to let them understand that not everyone online is good with kind intentions. And we need to show them that not all the information you find online is always true and real. Yep. So I think another problem we all suffer from is the NMK syndrome. Not my child, or not my kid. The truth is that good kids can make bad decisions. And predators and scammers are targeting our children. They know that. They know how to bait them. They know how to get that information. And they're not going to stop. But what we can do is we can make it harder for them to actually succeed by teaching our children to think before they click.
That's very, very true. And I think it's something as teachers we can mention every time we take them online. We just mention little tidbits to remind children to be safe. I just want to say to those of you watching, if you've got a question, pop it in the chat and we can share it or try and answer it.
Please. Then the other thing I think we must all be very conscious of is when our children are online or we're handing over the phone without watching, is the prefrontal cortex is that little part in your brain that makes you make a quick decision, quick pro-con, what's a good decision, what's not a good decision. That is only fully formed around our mid-20s. So if we think our children are impulsive and reactive now at a young age, can you imagine now if somebody says, oh, but I'm going to make you a famous dancer, come send me a video. Of course I'm going to do it. This is my moment. That prefrontal cortex has not been fully developed, and we need to be there to stand by them to say, are you sure this is real?
Very much.
My son hates the saying, that dopamine dump. And I think it's the brain has a chemical that creates pleasure and satisfaction and motivation in the brain. It has been proven that screen time stimulates that chemical, which is why whenever we're having our fights with the children to say that's enough screen time, it's always a fight. There's always pushback because why? I'm having a great time. And I think we also have to bear in mind that same dopamine dump is created when people are doing hard drugs like cocaine and heroin. So think about that the next time you see a child on a phone for longer than what they should be. They are getting a dopamine dump, and we need to be aware of that. Dopamine also manages the moods, sleep, and learning controls of the brain. Yeah. So very important that we all understand we are actually messing with the children's chemical reactions in their brain with too much screen time. It's a digital playground. And Karen, I know you've agreed with me on this. You go out for dinner and everybody's on their phone. You know, why are you together? Nobody's actually playing. We need to encourage our children to balance this time. So risky play, imaginative play, and physical play are all so important and essential to their development at this young age. So working with your family, and some of the screen time rules can be a little bit heavy, while mommy's busy and daddy's here and, we've all got a lot of work to do. Make the rules to suit your family. And just remember that every minute offline is a good developmental minute.
I also just want to say in terms of that is that don't make rules for the children and then not for yourself. So for example, if your rule is we're having dinner, there's no phones, then
nobody
you shouldn't be your phone either. And if you're expecting a business call or something that evening, tell the family, sorry, I'm expecting this. If it happens tonight, then I've got to take it. But generally, we shouldn't just be wanting to react straight away. 99.9% of the calls are not urgent. The people do not need an instant reply. And that's how we should really think of our devices.
But our children need our constant attention. That is the one thing that they're craving for the whole day, and trust me, when they're 12, they might not want it anymore. So now's the time for us to guide them and tell them that there's nothing too embarrassing. Also, another important part of the digital playground is take time to play games with your child. Yes. Share with them what your fears are of, somebody befriended me on Facebook, but I didn't know who they were, so I blocked them. So if children are hearing that behavior and you're open with them, they'll be a lot more open with you to share when something like that happens.
That's very true.
Then I'm bored. I have no idea where those two words would strike fear and terror in parents around the world. Sorry, love, here's the screen. I'm sorry. It is a fact that no one has ever died of boredom. However, we can have deaths associated to digital challenges and suicides from cyberbullying. Boredom breeds creativity. It's good to let your kid just sit in their room for a while and play a game. It's okay. They will not fall apart. They will protest, but they will not fall apart. I think it's an important thing for all of us to not be afraid of that little statement.
I agree.
Then another one is critical thinking. And it might sound very grown up for our children, but we can encourage our children to start thinking critically. And that is by talking to them about real world problems, allowing them the chance to think and then give their solution. You'll actually find some really fun alternatives will come up. And what that does, it gives them that essential skill that I've got the ability to control my thoughts and to make a decision on something. And to practice that, just have open conversations as regularly as you can. Allow them to ask as many questions as possible. Do arts. And also look at building blocks or playing puzzles together. It develops their brain for that critical thinking. So when somebody comes to them and says, look, I think you must do this and come with me, actually, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Then a very important part of social kids, and I think it's a constant theme throughout all of our adventures, we call them adventures because no one wants to sit in a lesson, is the circle of trust. And why I've put this in here is I think as families and as teachers, we must all encourage the circle of trust.
Yes.
The same, a similar study to you, UNICEF's SA Kids Online, found that 70% of our children will not share what they experience or see online. And that is when they get deeper and deeper into trouble. Sextortion is through the roof because people are embarrassed. So we want to teach our little ones that you have a circle of trust. Yes, not everybody has a loving family and surroundings. So there are also lovely organizations that fill the circle of trust. And we teach our adventurers what that is. So out of the circle of trust, they need to identify one person. And that's a person who's quite scary to talk to, but you know they've got your back with a hard snap. And if children can remember that into their teens, nothing will be too embarrassing and they'll be happier to share what is going on in their lives. The fear of losing out of that technology will keep them in a space that's not healthy for them. So how does it work, Social Kids? It is 5 online videos where Codey Crawler takes the children with his BFF, Miss Nady, through the digital world. Each adventure, we approach certain topics, and after each adventure is completed, they need to do an activity. And this activity will demonstrate a level of understanding. Once they've completed that activity, they're then awarded a fantastic badge. So we've got a few badges, a digital fingerprint badge. And here we are teaching children tips and tricks on how to stay safe. So never meet up with someone you've met online. If somebody takes a picture of you, did they ask your permission? And to always tell when something bad has happened. So we've made a couple of little anagrams, so simple things that the kids can remember and sing along to. Then we've got I Beat Cyberbullies, my personal favorite, because cyberbullying is real. No, we're not saying that a 6-year-old is going to be cyberbullied, but did you know that YouTube is actually one of the highest cyberbullying platforms there is? Nobody ever thinks to check the chats and the comments. And WhatsApp is becoming a bigger and bigger problem with groups. It's becoming extremely hard to identify cyberbullying. So we want to teach our little ones that if somebody makes you feel sad, lonely, or bad about yourself, it is a form of cyberbullying. And we tell them what their rights are and what they should do should they feel like it's getting too much. And to always, of course, share with your circle of trust. We even go into algorithm action. And here we've kept it nice and simple. When you search for bad stuff will follow you. Similar to the pornography, children are naturally curious. So if you see something you don't like, stop following it. It will follow you. I can spot fake news. Here we teach our children what a safe website looks like. To always check your facts with at least 3 other sites and, of course, your circle of trust. We're going to Gaming Pro. We all know our children love to game, and gaming can't always be bad, but there has to be some very firm rules around gaming. Never play a game that is not right for your age. You have your whole life to play those games, and that includes when they're playing with an older sibling or a family member. To never play a game with a chat functionality, and if they are playing a game, they must have a secret question with their friends. We're also trying to teach our adventurers that it's good to balance your time. So if you can't reach that high score within 25 minutes, step away from the game, move your body, flex your brain, flex your muscles, flex your brain. You need to come back tomorrow to try to reach that high score. So we want to teach our children to balance their time themselves and realize, oh, actually, I'm not getting there. Maybe I need to step away. And then we show our children what good manners are online and what do certain symbols mean, and that people can actually record you on a screen even without your knowledge. It may seem scary stuff, but we've put it in language that's easy to understand. Our intention here is not to scare our children. Our intention is to empower them and forewarn them so they know how to approach these topics. Sorry.
I was going to say, and the 5 topics you've spoken about are all really relevant. Each of those has a really good place in terms of children and the way they use the internet.
And they haven't touched all of them, they do experience them even from a young age.
They do. And I think that, as you say, empowering the children, giving the children the knowledge how to cope in the spaces is what we need. And it doesn't have to scare them. It just has to keep them informed so that they know how to react and what to do. I think that's what's really important and exciting about these adventures that the children are taking on.
And we don't want to scare them. That's definitely because there is lots of good that can happen online. But we do want them to feel empowered and prepared. It's like I often say it's similar to doing swimming lessons, right? Not everybody's going to be an athletic Olympic swimmer, but nobody wants to take the chance of not having their child water safe. And yet we're handing over the World Wide Web with a bazillion, 60 billion people who can influence, communicate, and be with your child with no preparation. Sometimes I feel what's wrong with this world? It makes sense. We need to make digital safety as important as the ABCs. And then at the end of all the 5 adventures, we then receive the Global Surfer badge, with a personalized certificate. So this is an example of some of the activities. So the little ones will need some help with fine motor skills, but in a classroom environment or with mom and dad, it's really quite fun to do. And as long as they can verbalize what they're learning, that's good enough for us. Parent guides, I am proud to say, no AI was used in the development of these parent guides. It's written from a mom's point of view as to what I think would be important for me to know. Some of them have got a lot of information, but we've tried to lay it out in a nice way that it's easy to understand. Then, of course, the personalized certificates that we then give to the children that they can print at home with their name. And the activity number 5 is where they actually draw their own circle of trust. So it's something that's constantly up in their faces, in their environment, so that they know that they are loved and nothing is too embarrassing. Now, our goal, sorry, my slides have gone a bit weird, but our goal here is to protect as many children as possible. So it will work better in a school environment where we have a login for the class. Teachers are then offered a facilitator guide, which really tells them 3 minutes 25. Codey's going to tell the children to jump up and down. Please give them a few minutes to settle. This is some of the questions you can expect. Here are some of the answers. We co-brand the activities, the parent guides, and the certificates. We have little sticky badges, which are quite fun. So in a class environment, because they won't see their profile badges, it's a little sticky badge that they can then wear the whole day as if they've actually achieved it. And then we offer a free 1-hour parent plan of action, because we know that not everybody's going to read all the parent guides. So all a school really needs is Wi-Fi or a smart TV, and definitely a screen, and a teacher who's passionate and wants to protect the children. So that's Social Kids in a nutshell. And we really do believe that we can be the difference in our teens' lives. And through having these conversations, informing parents of the dangers that are on there, a lot of them aren't even aware. You know, I often get, Corin, you're going to laugh, I get parents who say, oh, this is lovely, but my kid's not online. So they don't play games or watch YouTube Kids. Oh, no, they do that. That is online. It is. Or that I'm watching, Cheryl. Don't worry, I'm watching. It's a bit like that MYK syndrome, right? Not my kid. It's impossible for you to be watching 24/7.
That's true. So if a family wants to get hold of you, is it different? Or do they also just email Codey at Social Kids? Is it different to schools?
If a family wants to go through it, and we encourage the family to do it together, our feedback from parents have been it's really started off some great conversations within the family. Is all you need to do is visit socialkids.co.za, log in, pay the registration, and you have access to all 5 adventures, even jump in, jump out adventures, because we know it's hard to keep up with the schedule. You have the parent guides and the activities. Once you've finished watching Adventure 1, you upload your activity to us and we unlock the next one. So we've tried to make it as user-friendly as possible. If you don't have Wi-Fi, all you need is a screen. We will put all the videos onto a USB and have that sent to you. We really are all about just empowering our children and informing our parents. And yeah, having the opportunity to share what we do really does help. Do we have any questions?
So if it's a school that wants to use it?
Same thing?
No, we don't yet.
No.
But if there's a school that wants to join, what is the process for a school, please?
Same thing. All the school has to do is visit the site. They can register a class straight on the site or email Codey at Social Kids. We'll arrange it, and all we need is their logo, and we send them everything else as well as the stickies, and off you go. Put it into your curriculum and teach away. We've also got some lovely free posters that you can download from our website that gives you, tips on safety, because we want digital safety to be in the classroom, needs to be in front and center. It is their playground. It's where they're playing now. And it's not just a us problem, it's a global problem, and it's not a problem, I shouldn't say problem, but it is a fear that we all need to do together to protect our children. They instinctively trust this. They don't see any bad. I'm fortunately a little bit old, right? So I remember the dial-up and I understand. I sometimes
So if we're now looking at internet safety, it's really great. I'm not sure where Cheryl went. Cheryl, you need to hop back on, please. So if we're thinking about how we can keep our children safe, and if we're looking at what Codey Kids can offer, it's really great in terms of the resources that they've got and the information that you can use within their space. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what happened.
I think it's something I said.
But I just think that these 5 adventures that you take the children on are really important. So if we're looking at schools, what actual age groups would it be suitable for? So what grades do you recommend this with? And how much do the children have to be able to read?
So we've got wording underneath in the videos, but it's all videos. So if they can watch a cartoon, they can watch Codey and Miss Nady. So we would recommend between grade R all the way to about grade 3, maybe grade 4. The reality is that online maturity is happening from a young age. So originally we actually had it pegged for 7 to 11, and I've actually had to make it lower. So it's okay for a grade R person to go through it. But it has to be with a child that's just starting their journey. That's where Social Kids really adds its value. We have had a boy who had quite a high online maturity. He did not like Codey. But Codey's developed for foundation phase. So there's a lot of repetition. He does speak a little bit slowly. It's so that it can sink in. And we do fun things in between the videos. So they have to shout out or jump up and down. So even though he didn't enjoy it, I did have his mother phone me a couple of weeks later to say, this child has run into the house furious that somebody took a picture of him without his permission.
So the penny dropped.
So the penny drops. And like I often say, at least something's getting through.
So there's a lady who's saying, as a mother of a 9-year-old, I'm often ostracized as none of the other parents want to limit screen time. Do you have any advice?
I'm feeling your pain. I am in the same place. Apparently, my son's friend is going to try and convince me why he should be playing a certain game this weekend. We have to parent together. So maybe that mom doesn't understand why there's limits on screen time. Maybe she doesn't know about the dopamine dump. And quite frankly, people need to respect your feelings on how you want to bring up your child. So if your 9-year-old will understand why you're doing it to protect them. You can have X amount of hours or minutes, up to you, and that's it. And talk to that mom. Say, why do you not limit the screen time? Are you not aware of the dopamine dump? Did you know that it can affect their sleep? Those type of things. If we talk together, we can't parent in silos. This is a digital world. And this is why people like Karen and myself and so many other amazing organizations are out there shouting on our soapboxes to please, we need to work together as a team. We can't let our children beat us with, I'm bored, give me a screen, or it's my right, I've got to be able to have it. No, go play, go draw a picture, go do your chores. So what we often say and what we suggest is create a what's it called? Oh my gosh, I've gone blank. A digital agreement, a tech agreement with your child. And in that tech agreement, you have full right and you agree to a time if they do X, Y, and Z. Screen time should be a reward, not a routine. So not saying take it away from them completely, but let's keep it manageable and controlled. With their child signing the agreement, they're kind of taking ownership and they understand it all. But only you can change the rules because as I say to my son, I pay taxes, you don't. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, for me, I suppose I got into the tech game years ago when tech was very new because my children wanted to go on different games. So I learned them, found out what they were like, and then we had a discussion as to whether they could do it and how they could do it. And I think for me, having the discussions with your children, even when they're little, is so important. Talking about doing things like, have you stretched your eyes? Your eyes have been looking here. What have we done to stretch your eyes today?
And
what about your legs and your body? How have you moved? If you've got nice trees outside, have you climbed the tree today? So get them to be thinking about other things also, and talk about how their friends also don't need an instant answer. And your suggestion of talking to your friends is so important. Sharing with that is very much something that we need to do. It shouldn't become this negative car park chatter. It should rather be this positive space where we can be supporting each other and seeing how we can actually help our children within the space. Invite somebody to come and speak at your school, to have a chat, to do a webinar, so that you can inform the parents around it.
100%. And being ostracized is absolutely unacceptable. You know, we need to be able to openly discuss it. This has been going on for years, since TV. I'm sure even when radio first started, people were like, get away from the radio and do your chores. You know, it's part of growing up. And our role as educators and parents, we need to be able to manage it in a decent way. And together, we cannot parent in silos.
I'm looking at Dion's comment about how do we get our children to talk about their online life? You could start talking about your own. So you could talk about, so make sure your own profile is good. Make sure that if your child Googles you, what do they see? And then sit down with them and say, have you seen these photos? Talk about them, and then talk about the photos that are on your child's one. Some families have the discussion around, I pay for the contract, so therefore I have the right. And that should have been a conversation at the beginning. But what you could do is, if there's a renewal coming up, you say, well, you can have the discussion. I don't know how old your child is, but for me, have the chat, have the discussion. Start with, if you don't have dinner together or things together, or if you're all on your devices, have time where your devices are down, where you can actually just start developing the engagement with each other. Do things where you really don't have devices. Go for a walk, like in a forest or a veld or a park or a something. Go on a family hike. Do stuff which doesn't use devices, so that you can start 100%. The discussion there. And then the discussion around the devices becomes easier.
We often suggest as well having tech-free zones. So like the dining room table where you're having dinner, even tech-free days or hours where you are forced to be together. Now, nobody wants to force a conversation, but exactly, Karen, to what you said. You know, the last time I was bullied, this happened. And it made me feel like this. Well, make your child feel like, well, actually, maybe I can tell them what's happening. You know, you don't have to force it out of them. Your child, there's always a why. There's always a why they're not telling you something. But making sure that they understand there are no massive consequences, and we understand that mistakes happen. Often somebody will keep quiet and get small because somebody's bullying them, or maybe they are the bully and they're about to be exposed. We as parents and educators need to learn to keep a cool head, keep our reactions in check, lose it behind a closed door, but make sure that that child knows you are there to support them, and whatever you have to do, you will do it with them. Otherwise, they'll just keep blocked up and they won't do anything. And please trust me, I'm an imperfect mother at the best of times. I think all of us have made our mistakes. All of us think we know what to do and then we don't do it. You know, we're all human. And that's where parenting together is so important, and having these conversations. There's absolutely no fear in opening up and saying, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I agree.
I got lambasted on a Facebook group once because somebody was asking, what's the best tablet for my 2-year-old? And I was like, it's called Blocks. You don't need a tablet. I got lambasted, but I won't stop. And I think if more people turn around and say, actually, tablets are great, but try this first. We've got to make it taboo that our children walk like this.
Yeah. Or the adults.
Or the adults. And I'm just as bad to blame. I am terrible, but we have to learn. It's so weird. In a highly connected world, we're so disconnected. There's so many things that don't come across in a screen. We don't feel emotion. We don't hear tonality. We don't see body language. And those are all essential parts of communication and connecting.
So I just want to say, I don't see any more questions. So if somebody's got one they want to say, please do. Oh, so just as I said that. But I think it's really important in terms of how we engage with our children. And that the younger we start, the better chance you've got of them actually listening to us when they're older. Pat's saying, what about certain cultures where parents are not used to speaking to their children? How do we bridge the communication gap? Well, wow. Now we're talking about culture, and I'm not sure I can answer that one.
That's a great question.
Yeah, but for me, I think it's if you're giving your child a device, you're actually allowing them to communicate with strangers. And so, therefore, if your culture says that you can't talk to an adult or children, other children, I mean, as children and adults in terms of like we're speaking, perhaps then the device should be even more limited. And it's having that kind of discussion with the children and the parents within the space. So look at your context and see, how am I really going to protect my child in the space? And look and see, how do I actually adjust to a changing world so that I can actually help my children so that they don't get pulled into a space of trusting an online person that they've never even met. And for me, that's the kind of thing that we need to think of as adults. A really incredible question and thought-provoking. So
very
thank
good
you.
Question. And a massive issue in our country with so many diverse cultures. Yes. Nobody can sit here and tell you how to be a parent. You are the best parent your child will ever have. But there are organizations, there are places that are there to help and support, not just social kids. You have a school, you have a guidance teacher, you have a coach or somebody that they trust. Speak to them and say, I want you to check what my kid's doing online. I'm not sure how to broach it. There are options, and we mustn't let culture change step in the way of us moving forward and discussing these issues we all love. And that's what actually counts at the end of the day. Because remember, those predators, those scammers, they don't see culture. They just see money and opportunity.
So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's given these really interesting and thought-provoking questions. And I really hope that you enjoy the journey with your children and devices. Have a look at what Social Kids offers. It's a really wonderful solution, I think, for little children. And for me, the chameleon, who's Codey, is just so cute. And the way he tells the stories, it's really wonderful. Well, so Cheryl, as we end off, what would be the last thing you would like to give people as a tip in terms of ending off the session?
Well, I've given quite a few little tips and tools, but I think the most important thing for me is don't be too hard on yourself. We are all navigating this digital world for the first time. It changes on a regular basis. We can't even keep up with our own updates. Now we've got children that are born into this space. They are naturally comfortable in it, and they just want more and more because of all the various reasons. We need to do what's right for our families and what we feel is right for our child. Similar to the swimming lessons, similar to how we want to, talking about the cultural thing. Just remember to think before you click. And as parents, we are the mentors, and we are the ones that they are copying. So sometimes we need to look at ourselves and how we behave with technology. It is possible to develop healthy digital habits at home and a good relationship with technology. It will go a long way. It really will.
And to this lovely compliment you got where a child did the course and he loved it. So thank you for sharing this with everybody. This is really wonderful.
Wonderful. Woo! Our Codey Crawler is the Indiana Jones of the internet, or the Dora the Explorer of the World Wide Web. Thank you.
That's so cool.
Lauren. We really appreciate the opportunity.
So thanks, everyone. We're going to say goodnight. Hope to see you soon. Hope you found this valuable. Have a wonderful internet safer day next week. And remember to start talking to your children today if you haven't. Bye.
Bye.